So let me start with Shah, who's Managing Director at Thomson Reuters. And I'm sure you will say a few words about what you do at Thomson Reuters, but if you can address the question of what Reuters can actually do to support the infrastructure development agenda in Sub-Saharan Africa.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for inviting me on this panel. And I spoke a little bit earlier about what we do across the continent, but when I think about infrastructure development, I think there are two types of infrastructure. There's a physical infrastructure, which is not what we do, but actually there's another set of infrastructures around frameworks that enable trade and development across the continent, and that's really where we play a big part. So many people will know that we have a very strong news business and that we have a market data business, and we provide data to foreign investors on the best opportunities. But beyond that, we actually have a very varied business that helps unlock those opportunities for investors. So when I asked a private equity investor recently on Africa that what were his criteria for the most bankable investments in Africa, he told me three things. So he said that there has to be land rights, and there has to be transparency about who owns the land. There has to be rule of law, and I have to know who I'm dealing with. And that's where we really play a big role. So around land rights, we have a system that we work with governments at both the state and the federal level to put in place systems that help automate land records. And then what we do is we take it to the next level, which is help governments develop valuation systems that help them then derive new sources of revenue from property. And the genesis of that is that then you open up mortgage markets, you open up private development, commercial development in those markets. So we do a lot of work around that. We also, on the rule of law, work with different governments around the continent to help publish their laws, make them accessible to foreign investors. So we've just completed a project in Nigeria with the state of Lagos, where we're putting the laws of the state of Lagos into our global system and making them searchable by foreign investors. And we also then work with judiciary systems around the continent to automate the workflow of the sort of law, of the legal system, so that as a foreign investor, if you come into a country, you can have confidence that if a case goes to court, it'll be dealt with in an efficient way and a transparent way. And then the third piece, which is knowing who you do business with, we have the world's best anti-money laundering screening database headquartered out of Cape Town. It's a global database. It's used by intelligence agencies, governments, and financial institutions around the world. And our data on Africa is extremely robust. So you may not know it, but you're probably already using our data. So we help investors have confidence in who they're dealing with. And so I think these are essential parts of an enabling framework and infrastructure for investors.
Thank you, Shah.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.